So there is this thing in the developers world called competitive programming. And as the name suggests, it is a competition among programmers to solve a problem that can be simple or not so simple to hellish complex. And the first to solve it basically wins. Despite being a fascinating turn in an already difficult field such as programming, I want to share my thoughts about competitive programming. Hello there, welcome everyone, my name is Marco and I'm a full stack developer. Now, full disclaimer here is that I've never done any competitive programming. I've watched competitions and I've taken courses about algorithms and etc. But I never really competed. I've never became a sport programmer, as they are called now. And just to be clear from the start, I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I'll tell you straight away that I'm not a big fan of competitive programming. But here's why. Let's start exploring the world of competitive programming a bit more. It is a competition and it is organized all year round by different organizations, and it's quite popular among large tech companies. I think the first name that comes to mind is Google. It must not be confused with hackathons. Now, those are competitions as well, but you usually work in a team in that case, not much to solve a problem, but to create something, to create a project. And you usually have a bit more time to do so. Competitive programming is basically solving or coming up with a solution to a problem or a mind puzzle. And you usually do so via a script. You can use the language you want. The important part is that you solve it. You usually have a time limit, and it can depend. It usually is 1 day, but it can also be 3 days or even a week or even longer, I think. Now, I think that right here, there's already a problem. For those people who think that competitive programming can enhance, improve their ability as programmers, I say, think again. In the industry, there is a big difference between solving a problem, solving a puzzle, and creating something, creating a software or an application. In the second case, you not only need to find a solution to one problem, but to many problems. But if you were like this, you would say, well, I'm a competitor, I can solve one problem, I can solve many. But that's not really the point, because you not only need to solve many problems, but they also need to be connected among each other. They're not running isolated from one another, so they need to work harmoniously together. And the solution needs to take this into account. And that is a big downside of competitive programming. It makes you lose sight of the larger scale, of the bigger picture. You are writing scripts that are super nice and ingenious, but for single problems that don't really apply to the real world and are totally isolated. Now, let's look at it this way. I'm not saying that competitive programming is bad in general. Actually, I think that we need sport programmer as much as math needs those crazy mathematicians who spend 20 years of their career trying to solve, I don't know, Fermat's last theorem.
The first 7 years I'd worked on this problem, I loved every minute of it, however hard it had been.
But as in this example, does mankind really need this theorem to be solved? If anything, I'd rather be the mathematician who work at things that can improve the style of living, and math matters more than you can imagine in that case. For instance, coming up with an algorithm to accurately calculate the probability of crimes in a specific area. By the way, this is a real project, it's a real research going on. Of course, this is not just one algorithm, one person, one script. It is a team effort, a huge amount of calculation and statistical analysis, but this is a real problem and it's nice that it's being addressed. And while there are engineers and mathematicians dedicated to these kind of problems, there are others dedicated to much atomic stuff, like, I don't know, deciding if imaginary numbers should exist or calculating the 5,000th number of pi. I mean, okay, bro. Who cares? They exist, I respect that, and they're also very useful in their own way, but among these two categories, I'd rather be the first one. Quick pause to tell you that if you're enjoying this video so far, well then leave a like to help this channel and me to make more content like this one. One other aspect that I despise about competitive programming is that it teaches bad coding practices. This is to be expected. When you're trying to solve a complex problem, especially when you have a time limit, you don't really pay attention to all those warnings that normal programmers pay attention to. Things not to pollute your code with embarrassing syntax, let's say. You won't care about clean code. Why would you? No comments. What are those? Even the simplest best practices like naming variables just gets thrown out the window because you don't need it. Some solutions, if you check the competitions, are super clever and somehow can give you insights on new ways to approach a problem and solve it. But man, they are messy. You don't want to be the guy reviewing that code. Believe me. And this is another problem. Reviewing code of a problem that has already been solved. One thing that competitive programmers have in common is definitely intelligence. You don't need to be a genius to become a programmer, but if you want to compete, you do. It's a big advantage. And a strong knowledge of mathematics is recommended. I sometimes get angry knowing that all that brain power goes toward solving a problem that, however complex, has a known solution. In today's world, we have tons of problems in our society with all aspects of it. Many things that could be improved, and since we live in a very digital world, there's always going to be something that can be solved via an app, via software, via a digital solution. Now, these are real problems that would need big brains behind them to be solved effectively. Instead, those big brains play chess. And big companies are also to blame here. As I said, these competitions are backed up by many large tech companies. If you are a competitive programmer and you are quite high up in the rankings, large tech companies want you. But the question is, to do what? You are relegated to secondary roles, not even playing the brain of the company, but more like a neuron. You are very smart and you help people in command to make their wishes, not yours or of others, come true. I want this. Find a solution. Make it.
I want my entire music collection in that phone. Get on it!
This infuriates me badly. There are so many ways that this brain power can be used to help people and give value to maybe the entire humankind. Why not? But no, instead we use it to create the metaverse. Come on. Anyway guys, this was my take about competitive programming, and of course feel free to comment down below what you think about it. And if you wanted to start a career as a sport programmer, well, good on you, I wish you luck. And if you wanted to become a better developer, then watch this video about habits that can help you with that. Also, subscribe. I'll see you at the next one.